Hello and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Blake Buettner, and we are in studio today, all of us, nobody in the computer. This is lovely. I have Zach Kazan right there.
Hello, how's it going?
No longer holding down the fort in Concord.
Someone must be holding it down. I don't know. I haven't heard the news back from the fort.
Concord lost to Boston.
Oh man, over. Don't say that. We can take Boston.
Ooh, all right.
Boston's
big
got nothing.
Words in Boston.
They
Okay,
got nothing.
You heard it. We've got Zach Weiss right there. Hey, Zach.
Hey, sorry, Concord. I know you could take Boston. It was the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
For all the Concord
all right,
fans.
we'll let it go.
We'll let it slide.
Concord.
Yeah. Lewiston, Maine's got you, though.
Yeah. I can't compete with Lewiston. Maine in general. It's the way life should be.
Yeah. And we're thrilled to be joined by Kat Shoulders.
Hey, everybody.
In person, in studio. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. And then, me. So we've got, and then me. I'm that other guy that they have on. I'm excited about today's episode because we're talking about a lot of things that I think we're all interested in, maybe a little bit outside of watches. We get certain people asking us about certain things when they find out that we are into certain other weird things.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay if they're weird, right? That's not like a derogatory thing. They're just not normal.
I mean, it isn't anything that you are insanely interested in. It gets kind of weird once you start kind of diving into something. It makes it weird.
Yeah, you'd be surprised the depths to some hobby that might otherwise seem like surface level to you. Some people go hard, just like us in watches, I suppose, which is kind of a abnormal.
You suppose?
Thing.
I suppose. We're very weird.
So, yeah.
We're all very weird.
Is that my Midwest coming out?
Yeah,
I suppose. So we're going to talk about some of those things today, and some other recommendations that we might have in these areas, and how we experience these things, and we'll mix in a little watch talk here and there, I'm sure. Before we get to that, Zach Kazan, what are you wearing on your wrist?
I'm wearing a watch that I'm reviewing for the site. Be writing it up soon. It's the Aorus Big Crown Caliber 473. I think that's
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's the correct caliber number. This is a brand new release from Aorus. It has their Caliber 473, which is a new movement. It's basically their 5-day in-house movement, but a hand-wound version.
Yeah. And small.
It's small. Yeah, it's a 38 millimeter. The Big Crown pointer date format, which is kind of a classic Aorus. Aorus line. It's quite nice. I think the color is really beautiful. It's like a robin's egg blue. It's very nice. I'm enjoying wearing it.
Yeah, it is quite lovely.
It takes a very long time to wind it fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to put that in the review.
Power reserve on the back, so you can see it.
Yeah.
Do you is this a watch that you learn to wind it backwards so you can be looking at the case back while you're winding it to see?
Oh, right. You guess you move it back.
Yeah, you can.
Wind it, stop, check. Wind it, stop, check.
Yeah, so that was kind of my method,
Okay.
early on. It's only been a day or so I haven't.
We'll figure it out.
Did you count the winds, or were you just?
Oh, I mean, I literally sat there just winding this thing aimlessly for. It must have been literally 5 minutes, which is a long time. Just be winding.
That is a very long time.
I think because the previous, Aorus obviously had the 10-day. Yeah. Which those took there were several hundred winds, I believe, to
they should supply a wrench or something to
a little motorized
crank it,
like Hublot does with that Ferrari thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that because the torque is so high that you can't?
Yeah,
turn
eventually
it or
there's all those barrels inside the thing, and
Yeah, Longa has that 31-day watch as well, which I feel like people don't really talk about very much. But you have it's key wound through the back.
Yeah,
some kind. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I like that.
It's like, you remember those old Tootsie Pop commercials? How many licks does it take to get into the middle?
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And with the owl or whatever.
Oh, it's classic.
And then 1, 2, and then he just chomps on it. And, so anyways, we'll have to figure in the review, I expect
do I need to count the winds? Let it go down to 0 and
wines.
then count. Yeah. That's
we need at least 5 more days.
Whole new level of
and that's all I did that afternoon.
Yeah.
I lost count at 371.
It's a very weird job sometimes. Yeah. Counting wines.
Yeah. Watch. Yeah. This is the stuff we do. This is the weird stuff we were talking about.
This is the content. Yeah. This is the content,
right? Kat, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing a new watch. This is my Breitling Super Ocean 42. The Kelly Slater edition,
nice.
So orange dial. But yeah, it's kind of a Christmas present to myself.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very sharp.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, which is why I wanted to buy it. Obviously, I had my name down, and funnily enough, like I waited longer for this watch than I did my sub.
Wow,
which is crazy. To think about. Yeah,
yeah, that is crazy to think about.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are just thinking like, "Wow, like
really?
That's lucky though." They're gonna be waiting years for their subs, but
that's true. That's true.
You got your sub quicker, I think. Than
a little bit
average,
quicker. A little bit quicker.
Luck.
Yeah. All luck.
Yeah.
I like this watch. This is my first time seeing one in person. Is when you came to the office with it. I was really impressed by the case itself, the profile.
It's got a nice profile.
Very thin. Well, at least thinner than I was anticipating. Like in my mind, like Breitling dive watches are kind of like these big bulbousy things.
Yeah.
But this is quite lovely, and it looks like it wears like really beautifully.
It's a really nice, like refined case on it. And the finishing's really good too. Yeah.
Very cool. Interesting. Speaking of your sub, I'm actually wearing your sub 124060. I've been curious about this for a while, and some weird things get stuck in the back of my head because this hobby's weird. And I have a 114060.
Oh, do you?
Yes, and you know, the case is often the subject of ridicule for its.
Shape, size, it's not looks in general.
It's yes, okay. I'm ridiculed for a lot of things.
Chunkness,
and yes, I know it's stupid watch and all that kind of stuff, but it's a watch that I like. Submariners, I've always liked this watch, but there was a measurement that I discovered only for the first time. Like just recently between these two watches, and it was the outside lug to lug measurement, and it was actually smaller on this 41 millimeter model than it was on the 40 millimeter model that I have. And I thought, oh, this is something like that. It's probably taking up less area on the wrist as a result.
It's the taper almost.
It's like the taper, yeah,
because they got really almost rectangular at a certain point, which the bracelet sort of balances that out when you see it. But when you take it, anytime I've seen like your modern era Submariner on a strap, which is not often. People don't usually wear them like that, but then they really look.
It's not
boxy.
Yeah. Like on the bracelet, I don't think it's like that big of a deal, and people are like, oh, it's so disgusting and all this kind of stuff. But like, it's really not that bad, and I still think it wears just fine.
Yeah.
So it's really just kind of, and it's not that big of a difference, but it's enough. Like you notice, and I think you notice that the bracelet is a bit wider where it connects into the case. Of course, it's 21 millimeters, so it kind of starts. Dispersing the weight of the watch in a wider area compared to the other one. So I also happen to have a different sub from a prior generation in route, 14060M. So we'll do kind of a look back at all three of these side by side.
Yeah.
What's the M stand for?
So, modified. So
what does that mean?
So it actually
keep asking what
it just has a 3130 movement in it. Eventually, they got around to chronometer rating it like officially. That's where the 4 lines of text come from on the dial. However, the 4 lines of text on the dial only really made it in like the last year of production on this one. They'd actually been doing it, I think, since like 2007 or something like that, but they still just get the 2 lines of text. So technically those are still 14060Ms if they have.
I didn't realize that.
That's good. So
curious.
So yeah, that's the sub. Thank you for letting me wear it for a little bit.
Of course.
It's a watch I like quite a bit. So Mr. Zach Weiss, what is that thing on your wrist?
On a new arrival, arrived mere hours ago, if even that. This is a Seiko Sportura 9T82. There's a lot more to the naming than that because that's just the caliber, and I don't frankly know all of it. But it's the titanium 4-dial weird thing that's super late 90s. That is
steampunkish.
Yeah, I mean it's all sorts of strange. Like I don't even know how you describe the shape of this case yet because it's sort of like it's like a shrouded case with 4 separate dials and a separate cyclops date on there. The time is told on an eccentric dial that is off at 6, and then the whole case sort of integrates into the bracelet and begins to slope down, but in a very like 90s like blobby way,
like Oakley sunglasses from the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, there's some real like smooth lines on this thing that I just don't think would fly by today's culture. But like it's one of those watches. Like I've just had it a few times. This is a watch I admired as a child or a young adult. This was late 90s, so I wasn't that young. But I would see it in what do you call it, Tourneau time machine on 57th Street, which I used to like go to with my dad periodically. Like we just go to watch stores just to like look at watches for hours. And I just remember this being in the cases and just it was one of my favorite things in the store. They also had like one of those Vianney halter watches, like the really steampunk looking thing somewhere in the store, and like those were the two things I would just gawk at. And they're actually sort of similar in some ways.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up. Yeah.
And then it just, I don't know, it occurred to me recently. I was like, why don't I just get one? It's like sort of like later half of last year. I was just like, they're out there. Why don't I get one now? I think perhaps I've reached a point of maturity in my collecting where I'm willing to go and get like, a Seiko Kinetic, which I think is sort of maybe the unfairly maligned, not maybe maligned, but doesn't have the love of other Seiko movements, obviously mechanical or spring drive. And I also think it's fallen off a little bit in their catalog as of late. But yeah, so this is, it's a Kinetic GMT. This was, I think, the only Kinetic GMT caliber they made. Notoriously complicated. I believe they were actually made in some of like the Grand Seiko studios. I have to double check that though, but this was not normal line Seiko movement, and yeah, they have to go back to Japan to be serviced, which is another reason why people don't like these.
Yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, it's fantastic. It's all titanium. It's all titanium. It's a lot of titanium.
I like
it's
how you looked
light.
at me when you said
Yeah,
that.
I look right at Kat. It's all titanium. And it's really funky, and it wears a lot better than I expected. It's like a metal bracelet, the whole thing, because of how blobby and curvy it is. But it's not huge. It's actually like tolerable, but I don't really know. I think it's 41 here, but like no other dimension really matters because it's all super weird otherwise,
What are on the subdials? You said a GMT?
Oh no. So you got just time, hour, minute, second on the bottom subdial. Then the rest are chronograph functions.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
above it is a 60-second counter, which doesn't tick. It's a smooth sweep. Then you have a stacked 30-minute and 12-hour, and then a 1/10 second.
Oh, wow.
And then a little date window over on the other side. And it's bullhead too, which is just
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing is gnarly to
very
the
cool.
max.
it's all sorts of weird.
And much more accessible than an Antiqua, which I think is the name of that Vienna Halter watch.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, met Vianney Halter last year in Geneva. Remember?
Yeah,
he's
we did.
a cool guy.
Yeah, he was just hanging out in the downstairs of the AWCI,
ACHCI. Yeah.
next to Sylvan Pinot, I think. Lovely chap.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll run into him
I
next
wonder
time.
what he
I'll
would
bring
say
him
about
this, and
that.
I'll be like, "This reminds me of you," and he'll be like, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
He brought great shame. Well, congratulations
Anyway,
on the pickup.
thank you,
Such a
thank
unique
you.
watch.
Yeah.
And something that I think people should be aware of. It's certainly like
This will get a missed review. That is that's my justification for this. It's like, I kind of want to review it as though it was a new watch, and it's the late 90s, and I just, I literally was listening to Nine Inch Nails this morning, so it's not that weird. Yeah.
okay. Look, half the reason I buy watches these days is that I think in the back, like, I can do some cool piece of content that I come up with if I bought this watch. So I'll just buy it just in case.
Yeah. I love seeing people's like really off brand type, really strange watches. I think it's interesting to see what people go after.
Yeah. Go for your weird thing.
Yeah.
Go get the weird. That should be everyone's watch mission for the year.
Yeah.
Embrace
Go buy
the weird.
something
Go buy
Yeah.
something weird. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank
again.
you. Appreciate it.
Very cool watch.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm
It's a Seiko Sportura. Kinetic. So go check that out. We'll put a link to.
It's got all that on the face. Seiko, Sportura, titanium, reset, start, stop.
Incredible.
A lot of words in case you forget. Tells you everything.
Incredible. So if you had gotten one of those in the 90s, you would have been just like,
That would have been it. I would have been retired because that would have been so cool. Yeah.
and this is it. Where do you go from there? Yeah. Very cool. Whatever did happen is the Seiko Kinetic stuff. I feel like that was like all the hot rage for a little bit there.
It's still.
Is it?
I don't know if it's in the
I think
US.
it still exists in some form.
Is it?
One of the first Seikos that we borrowed from Seiko several years ago, was a Kinetic GMT, like modern monster thing. I have to look that review up. And I actually think it was a Flyer GMT because that's what the Kinetic GMTs they are.
Yeah.
I had no appreciation for that back then. Little did I know the snob I turned
What's that
into.
hand do?
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is great for traveling.
Seems to move at about half the speed of the other hand. There. What's going on here? Very cool. All right, let's get into some other recommendations. Watch related, non-watch related. You guys let us know. Zach, why don't you kick things off for us here?
I don't have any watch related
You have
recommendations.
no watch related. Okay, then let's start with
true.
it.
I have a kind of pseudo watch.
Okay.
I thought we weren't supposed to have watch related things.
Yeah, no, that was kind
Maybe
of
like accessory or strap
Oh,
or I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll think about some stuff.
You don't have to. There are no rules here to this.
I mean, I want to. I've heard other podcasts do these recommendations episode where you just kind of recommend things you've enjoyed over the last interval of time. So, first recommendation is a streaming platform that I think is underrated and I return to a lot. It's the Shudder streaming platform, which specializes in horror films. And sometimes when I don't know what I want to watch, I'm a big movie fan. I'm always kind of looking for a movie to watch. I go to Shudder and I find some they have all kinds of horror movies. I kind of I gravitate towards the cheesy 80s and 90s stuff if I'm just looking for something to kill time watching. And they just have incredible content. And it's $6 a month or something like that. It's it's cheap enough that I'm cheap, but I don't think about this $6 a month expense.
Sure.
I'm a subscriber as well.
Yeah.
Not a long time
Okay.
subscriber, but a fairly recent. And because my go-to when I'm alone and I have the control, no one else. I don't have to worry about anyone else. This is basically me saying that I won't force my girlfriend to watch the crap I want to watch. I will always gravitate towards horror movies.
Yeah.
That's just what I watch. Period. Basically, I don't know why. But Shudder's got a lot of them. I mean, literally, that's all they have.
Yeah. It's they have they're great curators of content. They seem to have really good taste, and what they've been doing over the last couple of years is they're kind of buying the rights to new movies and putting them out on their platform, similar to the to what Netflix and other streaming services do. And a movie called Speak No Evil premiered on Shudder last year, which is a horrifying, very upsetting film, but it was one of the better movies I saw last year, just in terms of the
one might not even say
it's very good.
A horror movie so much as a horrifying movie.
Yeah, it's
a deeply unsettling movie.
Yeah, it's really kind of like a social horror movie in a lot of ways, kind of about the horrible ways humans treat each other and act around each other. So
charging for healthcare and stuff like that.
You nailed it.
Yeah,
they just get a big bill at the end, and then it goes, "No, I only had a cold."
But there's plenty of wacky stuff on there too, and they produce long form documentaries. They did a long documentary on folk horror last year, and it's a cool streaming service if you're a movie fan who kind of has adventurous taste, or you just love horror movies. Okay. Shudder is $6 a month, well spent.
Is SHUTT or
SHUDD? Yeah, Shudder.
Okay.
You're shuddering when you Speak No Evil and the way it ends. It's.
I can't. I don't mind horror movies, but my wife does not care for horror movies in the slightest. And I happen to live with her, and I also have a young child, so.
It's funny. I say before that, for the sake of my girlfriend, I don't. When we're watching stuff together, it's conversation. But I put on Speak No Evil when she wasn't there, and she walked in about 15 minutes into it, and I was like, "This movie's supposed to be really, really screwed up. You probably don't want to sit." And then when she watched it with me, and it was fine. It was fine. Yeah. It was she appreciated that, but that's a very specific. It's not like a monster movie or anything. It's psychologically horrifying in all these different ways, and I don't know.
We'll save the review of Speak No Evil. It's not. I don't
know if there's any watches in it, so I don't know. If we can get
probably not.
Not a time on screen. Do you like horror movies, Kat?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
and your husband watch them together?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're both into it.
All right. Was there a movie, any particular movie that surprised you when you didn't know what to watch? You went on there once and you're just that has an interesting looking title.
What was good was I had seen it before, but it had been a long time and I'd sort of forgotten everything about it. It was they have Exorcist 3
Okay.
on Shudder with George C. Scott, which is it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was seeing The Omen 3, but also good.
Yeah, I think they have the Omen
that
movies
was
on
his
Shudder as well.
Not Neil Patrick Harris. Sam Neill.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
grown-up Damien in that. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
He's in another horror movie that I like. Maybe the last one I saw, Event Horizon.
Oh yeah,
Event
that's
Horizon's
a freaky
fantastic.
One of the
movie.
best
Yeah,
movies.
Which is
yeah,
good.
it's really
There's a
good.
Speedmaster in that movie in the very beginning. We
Oh,
can,
no
we
way.
can talk about it.
Really?
Yeah.
It can get its own podcast.
Time on
Yeah.
screen.
Time on
There
possible
we go.
time on
Which is-
screen candidate right
It's whatever. I don't want to spoil that podcast, but it's they find the ship came from hell, whatever, and the Speedmaster's
Spoiler alert.
the Speedmaster's ticking, although no one's
Movie's
been
like
on the
50
thing for a
years
long time. There's some, there's I kind of want to, what, we need to plan a time on screen about all the inconsistencies with how watches actually work.
that's a
This
good
is
idea.
something
That
I've
would-
always
Yeah.
wanted to write, but I think it'd be more fun.
some
to talk about.
multi-part series probably
Yeah.
because there's a lot of those, a lot of examples of that.
I love that.
All right. Well,
That
let
was
us
fun.
know if you have any recommendations for us or point us in the right direction there. We're all ears. Shudder, good recommendation. Zach. All right. Kat.
All right,
What do you got for
so
us?
on that theme, a movie that I recently watched that just kind of blew my mind was The Menu, and I think you Zach were mentioning you watched it recently too.
I have watched The Menu. yes.
Yeah, menu's very good.
I actually didn't know it was a horror movie going into it. I thought it was a drama.
Did you see a trailer for it?
I saw bits and pieces of a trailer,
okay.
so I just didn't know. So I was very surprised, but it was so good. The characters in that movie were just fantastic, and it was a great kind of spoof on how people react to food. And
Are you a
Foodies and
fan of Chef's Table and the Netflix cooking documentaries? and stuff like that?
no, I'm not.
Have you watched
I like
those?
those.
Yeah.
Because you should watch those now. Also, having
Okay.
seen that, I'd say particularly maybe the episode about Favicon, which is in the first season. I feel like the restaurant was I think it's
really?
based on a conglomerate of things, but there's
Yeah,
this one restaurant that's deep in the woods of Norway that serves 20 people a night, and it's very they forage for everything.
That
So
sounds
it's
exactly.
but then Chef's Table has those chapter breaks with the food, which is
Okay.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but
it was a fun ride for sure.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you should
Highly
definitely watch it.
recommend
The Menu. Okay.
Yeah, it's very good.
a little Ari Aster.
You'll want a cheeseburger after you finish watching the menu
Definitely.
for sure. Yeah.
Do you have a movie recommendation, Zach?
Well, I have a TV show recommendation that is in this sort of sci-fi horror range, but been rewatching the show Fringe.
Oh, man.
okay.
It's
Love me some
streaming on
Fringe.
HBO Max. Yeah, I feel like if you know it, you love it. If you don't know it, you're like, what the hell is that? It's from 2010-ish, I think. 5-season sci-fi show that very much was picking up in the shoes of X-Files.
Yeah.
They even refer to the X-Files, but they refer to a lot of horror and sci-fi throughout it in really fun ways. And my girlfriend and I have been watching it 2 to 3 episodes a night for the last little while. And it's a lot of fun to watch again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's better than I even remember it being. Especially, I don't want to spoil anything, but knowing sort of where it goes, how they actually hinted at a lot of things throughout the entirety of the show.
Interesting.
That when you rewatch it, you see.
Were they able to finish that show? I watched the first season and then I liked it, but I bailed out for whatever reason. Were they able to finish it on their own terms, or did it get canceled?
So I think, and I don't want to I didn't want to look this up until I finished it again, but I kind of think what happened is it was around the writer's strike thing that happened.
Okay, yeah.
So I think season 4 might end early, and then they put season 5 is sort of where they would have ended up had they had these other seasons, and they only had one season left. So I think it kind of goes haywire at a certain point, which vibes with my recollection that there's all these seasons, and season 5 is a different show, relatively speaking.
Very cool.
But still,
The Fringe or just
Fringe?
Just
Fringe. Some good actors on there.
Okay.
I always forget his name, but the guy who played the King of Gondor in Lord of the Rings, or the Steward of Gondor, who bites that cherry tomato.
I know what you're talking about.
He plays one of the main characters in the show, Walter Bishop.
Very disturbing scene.
Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. The Fringe. I like that.
Yeah.
Not the
Old
Fringe.
TV.
Fringe.
Just Fringe. Just Fringe.
Yeah.
Fringe science. It's Fringe. It's on the Fringe.
okay.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation. That came out kind of in the wake of Lost and some other
Yeah.
shows that were kind of riding this mystery box wave on TV at the time. And
So it's
it was.
I feel like it's
it was a good one.
before really good TV came out, the really prestigious sort of Game of Thrones or whatever, the production values went up, and it's in a funny little sweet spot. It's like an end of an era kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was when like network TV was still like somewhat adventurous and still kind of like doing interesting things before everything just, everything worthwhile went to like, prestige cable and streamers. Yeah.
Very cool.
Bring it back. Bring it.
Well, I'll jump in with a movie recommendation. Yeah. I don't watch a ton of movies just because, I don't know, my aforementioned, like I'd have to agree on it with like the wife and the kid, and then it'd have to be all that. So I don't get time to just watch many movies that I look interesting to me. But I am on like long flights, so some of these are like my opportunity to watch to find movies. And I found a movie on a flight that I'd never heard of. I didn't really know anything about. I read the little like thing on the screen, the little 2-sentence description, and I was like, that sounds kind of weird. And I watched it. And the movie was 9 Days. And it was like the movie Soul, the Pixar movie Soul,
sure, yeah,
which is very, very good. It was a bit like that, except like real people and a little bit more like serious. It's like these people in limbo and that are like trying to like interview for a spot to be like born into like the world or reality or something like it. It's called 9 Days. And I'm really bad with names, but the guy that's in the Marvel Universe, Wong, he's a guy in it.
Oh yeah, Benedict Wong.
Wong. And then the guy that plays the main guy he does a fabulous job. I think he's in the Black Panther movies as well. Winston
Duke.
Winston Duke is his name. And then the guy that is the gal's assistant in Veep, who's really funny.
Oh, from Arrested Development?
Yes, also from Arrested Development. The guy that,
I don't know the actor's name.
Tony Hale.
Tony Hale is also in it.
I like this game. Just kidding.
I almost said Elaine's assistant in Veep. But and then one of the Skarsgård guys is in it, or the younger one.
They're interchangeable. Whatever. Yeah, a Skarsgård. That's all you need to say.
A Skarsgård.
The guy from It?
I've never seen It, so
I don't know. I don't know if Alexander Skarsgård could have played the clown, and the guy who played the clown could have played the Viking.
That'd be fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
This guy looks like he's like 25 or something. Like
Yeah.
he's younger.
The one in Barbarian, another excellent film.
Yeah,
Just dropped
Barbarian's fantastic.
None of you have seen this movie?
No.
You
Never
recommended
heard
this
of it.
movie to me a while back, and I made a note to watch it, and I haven't yet. I've been meaning to.
You should. Maybe
it sounds
you'll
really
be
good.
like, Blake, that's horrible, and you're stupid for liking it. Certainly possible, but I found it rather compelling just because of the concept itself.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
It has a good reputation. Like it's a movie that was well reviewed when it came out, and it's just not something I ever got around to. You said you saw it did you see it on a plane? Or
I'd never heard or seen any piece of marketing, anything about that. Yeah, it was just on a plane
Yeah.
in the 100 movies that they have in there or something like that, and I didn't want to watch like Bond or Captain Marvel or whatever those things
Captain
are.
Bond.
Captain Bond, so I was like, well, this looks interesting. So,
do you guys have a strategy for picking the in-flight movie, like what you watch on a plane? Because
Yeah, I do. Sort of.
oh, really? Okay.
yeah, what do you guys do? What's your?
I mean, I just look for like the movie that is kind of like a crappy guilty pleasure that I don't know feels correct for watching on a plane. So like one of the last flights I took, I watched Morbius.
Yeah,
Perfect. I would never waste
plane
my
movie,
time not on a
Yeah.
plane. My time is already being spent on the flight. Therefore, you can do
It's
anything
free
you want
time,
with the movie. Kind of.
Yeah.
That's how.
I like that
And I
philosophy.
do watch a lot of MCU stuff, even though I like MCU more than that kind of might suggest, or superhero stuff. I just find it's good time killer.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
That's what I do.
I'm sort of the same way. I either go two routes. I watch something that is like that. It's a movie that I wouldn't watch at home, but now that I'm sitting on a plane with nothing to do, I'll watch it. For instance, I watched the new Thor on the way here the other day.
Not good.
exactly.
But a good,
But-
maybe a good plane movie.
Yeah, I was
Not
like, I've
terrible.
never
No,
seen
that's
it.
a
I'll
perfect
sit here and
plane
watch
movie.
it.
I would rewatch it.
Or-
I'll second you that.
Yeah.
I did not like that.
That's Brad.
Or I'll watch something that I've seen a million times, and it's just like a comfort. It's a comfort movie, so I'll find a movie.
You know what I watched on a plane? This is the thing you also have to be careful of, but I don't know. I watched like House of Gucci on a plane, and there's nothing like watching a movie with like some like explicit scenes
Yeah.
on a plane. You're
Like
like
looking around.
Kids behind you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was
So what's your strategy?
I'm kind of similar. I tend to look for something like I'll scroll through, and if I see something that I've seen before and liked that was kind of dumb, like that is kind of like a go-to, something that I don't have to. So I might fall asleep. I might get distracted. I might be watching House of Gucci over the shoulder of the person in front of me or something. It might be more interesting.
It's a better movie than what's in front of me.
I try to go for something kind of like dumb but rewatchable that doesn't require a lot of emotional investment. I made a mistake on a flight last year, and I watched a movie that I actually like wanted to see that I had just missed on a plane. That was not like a dumb, stupid like time waster movie. A movie called Come On, Come On with Joaquin Phoenix. It's a drama. It's a very good movie, but very kind of like emotionally affecting movie.
He's
and
like a stepdad.
Yeah, he kind of like he takes in his sister's kid for like a period of time during like some family trouble, and excellent film. Highly recommend it. I since watched it in a normal situation and liked it even more, but man, not a good movie to watch on a plane. So I don't recommend like seeing a movie that you missed in theaters or something and thinking, oh yeah, I really wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Because you might have a not so great experience. Yeah.
I will say that planes don't like it's solve for everything though. Like Morbius, that was a truly terrible movie, but I made it through. I could not get more than like 20 minutes into Venom 2.
Ooh.
That might be one of the worst movies ever made. It truly terrible.
Yeah. The last two like hero whatever movies I saw were the one that you just said, and what was it, Thor?
Yeah.
Love and Thunder. And what was the other one? The guy that does the magic stuff.
Benedict
Cumberbatch?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
The second one of that. That was no good. If I wasn't with my kid, I would have gotten up and walked out of that.
You really hated that one. I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
they've all lost their kind of momentum, or I mean, they're all super flashy and out there, but like,
I don't care about that stuff. Like, there's been a few of those that I have enjoyed.
Bring back Cap.
Yeah.
like Civil War, I thought was like pretty good.
Civil War's good.
Yeah,
It was a good movie. Like the original Iron Man, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
The Thor movie before the Love and Thunder, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a fun
But yeah. Anyways, all right, let's get off movies. If we may.
Can I give one more quick recommendation? There's a quick
Yeah.
one that, because the menu reminded me of this, and then I reminded myself of it with Fringe. But have you seen the Hannibal TV show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent.
That
That's a good
is
one.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is still to this day, like, I cannot believe it ever aired, because it's one of the most graphic, brutal,
It was like
vicious
FX or
things.
something, or I can't remember
I
what
think it
channel.
was on Network.
Yeah, that was
definitely
on
Network.
NBC. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it
sure.
was
NBC,
late,
oh,
and it was
wow.
like,
Is this one with Mads Mikkelsen?
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
as Hannibal. I always forget the name. Hugh Dancy.
Hugh Dancy.
Yeah,
Hugh
yeah.
Dancy as the other guy.
Wind up
The doctor.
attendee, Hugh Dancy.
Well, yeah, wind up attendee. But yeah, there's they put a really an emphasis on obviously the food in that and Hannibal's preparation of it, because he's a cannibal, and like they make the food. But like they had, I forgot who it was, but they had like a high end, like a famous chef, like I believe help them kind of do those scenes. So the food preparation in it is like
Looks amazing.
beautiful, but it's people at times, and it makes it extra unsettling.
Yeah.
But yeah, really brutal show, but great if you like
Yeah.
horror and food.
Yeah.
Strange
Yeah.
relation.
Horror and
Yeah, and Mads Mikkelsen. No, it's super worth watching.
And you need a good drink for these shows, of course. So I'll move us on to my next recommendation,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
in the drink realm, which is a new aperitivo that I recently tried. It's a Peychaud's aperitivo. Of course, they're known for their bitters that quite famously goes in Sazerac's down south. And they make an aperitivo that is quite lovely. If you like Negronis, it's somewhere in between an Aperol and a Campari. Not quite as bitter as a Campari, and not quite as like light and sweet as an Aperol. So would probably go perfectly with the
It is definitely
Eating
a
people show.
cocktail. Yeah,
so it really nailed the red in there as well.
that sounds very nice.
I making cocktails is another like a hobby of mine. Was something that I enjoy quite a bit. So I've got like kind of weird things in my bar at home, and kits to make cocktails, and not kits, like the kit to like Boston shakers and the julep strainers and all this kind of stuff. And the Death and Company books are another recommendation. We have one here behind us. But the Death and Company Cocktail Codex is another good one that kind of teaches you how cocktails break down and the kind of core fundamentals of all that kind of stuff. So I read that, and I made a cocktail of my own. And I put it in the cocktail subreddit. I got really good feedback.
Oh, wow.
So I thought I would share it here. If you are the type that likes to make cocktails and has maybe some weird ingredients, I call it the Woodland.
Oh yeah, little IWC crossover.
IWC, because it's the same color as that watch. It's kind of like a deep green, forest green. So it's made of gin. An ounce and a half of gin, a half ounce of Dolin Blanc, and a quarter ounce of Suze, which is a real kind of earthy
Suze.
ingredient. It's traditionally found in the white Negroni along with Lillet in gin, obviously in equal parts, and then a quarter ounce of creme de violet. So that violet and the Suze, which is like a yellow, kind of combine to create this like really beautiful, rich green. So it has a little bit of that earthiness from the Suze, but the floral kind of sweetness of the creme de violet also complement it. It's like a sipper. You want to shake it and get stir it and get it really, really cold. It's a big flavor kind of cocktail. Nothing you'd want to like slam. Not that you should slam cocktails ever. But if you're expecting like a gin and tonic type thing, it's not that. So.
There's a restaurant by me over where I live. It's like a good little neighborhood place, a little French place, and they have in their cocktail list something called the Kaiser Suze. It's a little usual suspect. Yeah. And like I just ordered on a whim one day, and like it's my favorite drink there. It's quite light. It's not like a super alcoholic drink. It's Suze itself isn't super.
Yeah, it's alcoholic, but it's not.
They put a lot of ice in it. It's one of those things like a hot day. You're like 3 or 4 of them.
What else is in it?
I can't recall, but it's good. It's very light. It's almost like a spritz of some kind, but Suze is sort of the main flavor component. You'll probably find out.
So try this cocktail, the Woodland, and if you find it or if you see it or come across it, Pay Shows Aperitivo, and you enjoy a Negroni or anything with Campari in it, I guess you might like it. So,
sounds good.
Yeah, give it a try. Zach, what do you got next?
I have a gear recommendation. It's the Peak Designs Tech Pouch, which is just like one of the most useful kind of like bag type things I've ever owned. It's a little kind of like accordion style pouch. I fit multiple like big chunky like AC adapters in there. I have one for like international use, one for my MacBook Pro, cables for charging my MacBook, iPad Pro, phone,
all the important stuff.
Anything that I might travel with. I put a mouse in there. I put my my AirPods in there. Just like it's incredibly useful. It's small. It fits in a backpack. I'm not like a huge like kind of like bag nut. I know that a lot of people kind of like are sort of obsessed with like finding like the right bag, and like I kind of have like I have a backpack I like that I use when I travel, and I just needed something to like put all of my kind of like tech stuff in, and this is like exactly the right thing, and it holds a surprising amount of stuff. I'm always surprised by how much I can cram in there.
It's basically like a desk drawer. Like everything you can fit in a single desk drawer fits in it.
Yep.
I've got one at home too, and I don't have desk drawers, so it's pretty handy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can fit a ton of stuff in there.
And it's really high quality. Like I feel like it'll last for years, as long as I don't abuse it, which is more than I can say for other bags and things that I've owned over the years. So.
I literally have one that arrived yesterday.
Oh, nice.
As per your recommendation, because I picked up a Peak Design camera strap, which I know you both have.
Yeah.
I've been on my list to buy for a long time, and then something reminded me of it. So I got that, and then I mentioned it, and you were like, oh, I have their bag. And then I looked at that, and I was like, this is literally the thing I need, because my wires and cables and camera, like batteries and media, it's just spread across various Ziploc bags that are in various places in my apartment, and it's terrible. And they get them separated for travel and whatever. So it's like, I need this like to keep it in my desk, but then also travel, because I just terribly disorganized.
I want to pick up, they also have like a toiletry kit that's in the same kind of format. I've been wanting to pick one of those up too, to just put all my toiletry stuff in.
Like a dop kit.
It does look very, and it's like there's like bar tacks, like really good stitching and like sealed seams and stuff like that. It's quite nicely made.
Yeah.
What's it called? The Peak Designs?
It's the Peak Designs Tech Pouch.
Pouch.
Yeah.
All right. For your loadout, for your tech loadout. I like it. So do you I keep like spare, I have like 2 versions of all the charge cords and stuff that I have that I need. So that way there's a set that just never leaves my backpack.
That's how
just floating around in the bottom or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I use mine. I keep like, basically everything that I travel with is like a duplicate of something I use, at home every day. And it just kind of like lives in my backpack that I take with me when I come to the city or when I travel, elsewhere. I don't have to think about it. It's just kind of it makes it very easy to travel with tech stuff. It's great.
Any other gear recommendations? Kat, you got a gear recommendation?
Not really gear. I recently have started getting into film, and I picked up a Canon AE1 program. It's a film camera from the 80s and 90s, and
cool.
You can actually find them like KEH on eBay for super cheap, and it's like a really, really powerful camera. Obviously, it's manual, but there are, with the program one, you can set it sort of as an automatic camera too. So I'm really excited about that and kind of getting into film, which I've never done before. So yeah, but it's a nice little camera, and there's like plenty available. There's a ton of them.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I haven't shot and filmed anything in a long time. Like in college.
Yeah, it's really expensive now.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's like a hobby. It's like pure hobby.
I bought some like Portra 400 film canisters, and they were like almost $30 each.
Wow.
Which is it's pretty high.
But then you can digitize those photos and then you can put it on Instagram still and you'd be like shot on film.
Exactly.
You know?
I'll look real cool. Yeah.
Isn't there a filter that does the same thing?
Pretty much. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun. I mean, I haven't shot film since I was, a kid with a little point and shoot camera that we had, but it's kind of exciting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
What about you? Do you have any gear? You shoot film still? Or?
I've never. I have shot film, but not shot it. I mean, I had cameras that used film before digital was a thing because I'm older. Where some of us are old enough to remember those days. Gear.
I think all of us here have.
Yeah. No, we're all in the same age group ish. I got gear. I don't know. I mean, just cameras make me think. I'm always into camera stuff as well, and something I've had for a long time that it's really cool. I really enjoy is a 7 Artisans lens. So there's actually like a lot of almost like my lens micro brands out there. And I feel like, I don't know. I mean, they all get written up, but I don't know if there's like if there's quite the cult for them or something. I'm not really part of like forums or anything like that, but they're incredibly inexpensive. Some of them compared to, larger brand lenses. And 7 Artisans tends to be one of the cheapest. So this lens I have is like a $70 lens. So I use it on my Fuji Xe3, which is an APS-C size. It's around an equivalent to a 40, millimeter, but it's like a 20 something with a f1.8. It has it's a non-clicking aperture ring, which is a little annoying, but it's fine. It's tiny, and I don't know. I love using it.
Is it manual?
It's manual.
Yeah, most of their lenses are all manual, right?
Most of them are manual. Some of these brands do have automatic lenses now, but it depends on the camera system. Like Sony, I think, is more like open with that stuff, so there's more automatics. But yeah, I mean, it's just a ton of fun, and like if you're not looking for tack sharp corner to corner photos, which like really doesn't matter, particularly in the days of Instagram when you're using the center of it anyway, like the photos are fantastic. It's a lot of fun to use, and it has a lot of character. And like walking around with my Fuji Xe3, which I just really like because it has this nice feel for like using all the manual aspects of it, like where the jog wheels are. It all feels perfect in your hand. Plus his lens, it's just my favorite thing to walk around. Like I have a Sony A7C and I walk around with that, and it takes objectively better photos in a lot of ways, like beautiful color. The lens I have on that has incredible bokeh, and they're incredible photos. I love them. But it's not as much fun to use as just the Fuji. Yeah. And with the Fuji, you can shoot in black and white and like look into the it's just a lot of fun. But anyway, I recommend, lenses are expensive, and I feel like you don't buy them for fun really, you buy them for purpose, and like, but these less expensive lenses can like make it a little more fun. And some of them are also simulations of like old lenses. So you find ones based on like Summicron formulas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mostly primes, I imagine.
Yes, mostly primes. Also some super fast ones. You can get like 0.95s for $500.
Bokalicious right there.
Yeah, exactly. As they say.
Very cool.
That unexpected. I didn't even think about talking about that. But yeah.
Yeah. What else do you got next on your list?
Oh gosh. My list is strange. Okay. I'm gonna recommend an album.
Okay.
Great.
Ooh,
All right.
I like it.
All right. That so I'm a metalhead. This has been discussed before. And there's a Canadian band in the kind of what is I think sort of being called the new new age traditional metal. So this is sort of like a power metal band, like, sort of in a cut that, Judas Priest sort of a way.
Okay.
And they're called Riot City. And the album Burn the Night from 2019 is just one of the most fun albums, period. I don't know. It's definitely might give you a little bit of like a cringe at first because it has that like metal falsetto, like clean vocal, like very like 80s. But it's just incredibly fun, high energy album. And yeah, I don't know. I've been listening to it like a lot in the last year, particularly. Yeah.
All right. And this is heavy metal.
It is. It's metal's. It gets bad rap. Everyone thinks, oh, metal, whatever. But like music is just incredibly like light these days. Like when you listen to like, some grunge music from the 90s and obviously Metallica, like those bands were much more present. And, so now, I don't know, metal's practically anything with like a distorted guitar in it. I mean, this is traditional metal, but it's not like death metal.
Yeah.
It's not black metal or something that like sounds evil or something, which I listen to plenty of that too. And I have plenty of recommendations for that. I mean, I love that stuff too, but no, this is like, oh God, I'm forgetting the name of the Judas Priest album. But yeah, I don't know. It's that era. It's like power,
old school-ish.
Oh yeah, it's very old school.
It's kind of the equivalent of like a great old watch being brought back.
And that's the thing with these brands, these bands. So used to saying the word brands. These bands are like they're kind of it's exactly like that because it's like they studied this thing that is from a little while ago and they've been able to perfect it. So another recommendation is a band called Power Trip. That unfortunately the singer passed away a couple of years ago, so the band is sort of broken up. But they have a couple albums that came out, and they were like the perfection of thrash metal. So if you like early Metallica, if you like Slayer, like they just turned it into an art. They don't have a bad song, like legitimately. That's a little bit more. That's more metal.
I like the sound. I like early Metallica.
Early Metallica was fantastic. Anyway, I don't know.
Right,
thought that'd be
cool.
fun. Yeah, fun recommendation.
And Metallica's touring again, right? Or they're having a.
They are.
I read that. Yeah, they're going back on tour.
Painkiller was the Judas Priest album. I was trying to remember. If you like Painkiller, you'll love Riot City. Anyway,
okay. Right.
Yeah. Metallica's back on tour with
a couple different.
Like Pantera, which is weird.
Yeah. We don't have to go down that route. All right, very cool. Kat, what do you got? What else do you got?
I was going to talk about a piece of clothing, and that's the sweater that I'm wearing. This is the Standard H. What is it? The Xk sweatshirt. It's really nice. Shout out.
Podcast alum.
Yeah. It's kind of a mix of like a regular t-shirt and a sweatshirt. It's very thin. I have like an issue with some sweatshirts that are just like too thick and you just end up sweating in them all day. This one's like the perfect, it's true. This one's like, it's perfect. It's like the perfect thickness and it fits me really well too. So
nice,
it's very comfortable, very comfortable.
I've got a couple Standard H shirts in there. They're all
really soft.
Very well made.
Yeah.
So, very nice.
I find too, like for women, especially like fitting into most sweatshirts, they're just kind of like boxy. And this one's like a little bit more form fitting. So I kind of like it. Yeah.
It's interesting how I feel like I know Wesley Standard H from coming to our events, but then also like as a podcaster, but his clothing isn't merchandise. It's like he really pursues clothing as a product, you know what I mean? Which I didn't quite realize at first. And I don't, I hope that's no offense to him, but I thought, he made hats. It's a Standard H for the podcast and t-shirts, but I see people love these t-shirts for the quality of them.
It's
and
like
because they're intentional designs,
It's apparel stuff.
Yeah.
And he's got a new jacket. I think that's really cool with the plaid interior but it's not just like stuff with his, with the logo on it or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, he does good stuff and also a really nice guy. Go check out his site, Standard H. Listen to his podcast. Very good. I like that one.
Yeah. You're
good
out.
Stuff.
You're out.
I'm up. I had a book next for mine, and it's called The Scout Mindset by Julia Galef. I first heard her talk in an interview that she gave to Sean Carroll on his podcast called Mindscape. I don't read fiction books, many. At least I read all. It's all like not. It's all like kind of science stuff that I read about, like Carl Sagan type stuff. So this kind of it's not quite in that.
Haters
in that
say
realm.
that's fiction, though.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well then,
we support science on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, wherever you fall in that realm, I like Carl Sagan's books, and I'd recommend all of those. I was just thinking about which one. Billions and Billions is his final book. His wife had to write it after he passed away. Is my favorite book of his. But The Scout Mindset is a very good, interesting book from Julia Galef, and how we kind of like process the world around us, and we're like constantly updating it with like new information, and it's kind of a healthy mindset to be in, instead of kind of like falling into these prejudices and holes like that. So anyways, check that out if you're into that kind of thing. And then you might also like the Mindscape podcast with the theoretical physicist Sean Carroll, if you like to nerd out on physics.
Yeah.
My the YouTube algorithm for me has just like defaulted to recommending physicists like giving talks, because like I think I like it's like a go-to like type of content for me, like when I'm like falling asleep, I'll just put on physicists talking about like how like the universe is like infinitely large, and how like our significance is like less and less every day. And I don't know, for some reason I find that
or more
like,
and more
comforting, late at night in the wee hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's I love that type of content.
Do you like scroll past it, or now, like, I guess if you're looking to fall asleep, you can just hop into your YouTube feed and
It just puts me in the right puts me in the right frame of mind.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
off.
Okay,
Yeah.
not that it's like boring that you fall asleep.
No, I love it. No, not at all. No, that's not what I meant. It's just my my late night YouTube ritual involves like listening to theoretical physicists, which is strange. But anyway, we said we were going to get weird on this episode.
Well, there are worse things.
Yeah.
I even have a weirder thing on my list as well. I don't know if we get to, but it's a very short one.
Okay.
It's a set of keycaps for my keyboard. So I build these mechanical keyboards, and I have this a new set of keycaps just came in, made by GMK in the colorway Metropolis. That I think are quite sharp. So I like typing on GMK, which is the manufacturer, and it's a cherry profile, so they kind of cascade down your fingertips. It looks like a keyboard maybe from like the mid 90s or something like that. It's an experience to type on.
Yeah, it's like really heavy too.
Yeah, it's heavy, and it's got a very nice feel, because I open up the switches and lube certain parts of them, so they kind of have a certain feel. They don't go like click, 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 click.
Yeah,
it's more of a satisfying, I don't know, thud. So yeah, I won't go too deep down that rabbit hole, but yeah. So all right, who's up next? Zach, you next?
Yeah, I've got a TV show I can recommend. Fleischman is in Trouble, which recently finished its streaming run on Hulu. I really love this show. It's based on a pretty well regarded novel, and her name escapes me right now. I apologize. We'll put it in the show notes, but she was like the showrunner on this series, and wrote a lot of the scripts for it. And I think that really kind of like the show has like a very kind of like novelistic feel to it. It's very much about like the emotional lives of these characters. And it stars Jesse Eisenberg, Claire Danes, and Lizzie Kaplan. And it basically tracks the end of a marriage between Jesse Eisenberg's and Claire Danes' character. And it, we see that story from one side at the beginning of the show, and then kind of gradually learn more about the relationship, and all the performances are just really fantastic. I think if you're like a certain age, like in your like maybe like late 30s, early 40s, the show will have a certain resonance, just because of it's just very much about kind of like approaching that like middle age ennui, and like just sort of dealing with like your youth kind of like having passed you by. And it does that in a very kind of like mature and authentic way, in my opinion. And the performances are outstanding. There are like moments in the show that like I still find myself like thinking about, like after having finished the series, and lots of good like on location shooting in New York, which is. I was
going to say, it all takes place on the Upper East Side, and as someone who grew up on the Upper East Side and goes back there for family purposes on occasion, like they localize it really well, and they even drop like they order from Tony's. Like Tony's
Yeah.
is the Italian restaurant my parents always order from. Like it's
cool.
all correct, which
Yeah.
is fun to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
And another wind-up fair attendee, Claire Danes.
Claire Danes, the wife of
Hugh Dancy.
Hugh Dancy.
Who knew they would be the unexpected star of this?
So yeah. Anyway, the huge recommendation for Fleischman is in Trouble. It's
Yeah.
a really, really great show.
Actually, I had that one on my list as well.
Oh, did you?
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Fleischman's in Trouble. All right, Zach, what about
All right, I have one watch related
Yeah.
one,
Boo.
but it's also a book. It's a book though. So,
Watches nerd.
Yeah. So I think as fans of watches and the world of watches, you probably have some interest in Abraham Louis Breguet. A pretty important person in the world of watches, particularly like modern horology, sort of like not just from a technical perspective, but also sort of responsible for almost like the concept of a modern watch company and how they set it up. But anyway, so I have a growing interest in him. I've picked up a few books on the individual and his watches, but there's one that really surprised me because I bought it kind of not quite knowing what I was getting. And it's I have to pull it back up because it's title. So it's the Art of Breguet Habsburg Auction Catalog. And this is an auction from the 90s, but this is a full color, thick textbook size book. I got it for under $30. And this auction, I've actually loved to know more about this auction. If you happen to know more, send us a message. But it seems like almost every major like Breguet like somehow moved through there or was listed somehow in this or in the book. I have not read it cover to cover, but what is in there is this amazing catalog of Breguet's creations. And the way it's put together is that many of these, like, you mentioned like a chapter it's not a full chapter, but they'll just be like each watch and it'll tell you when it was made, when it was sold, who it was sold to, the importance of that person, because these almost all sold to royalty and people of, status in their time. And then there'll be like fold out pages, like, like centerfold style things with like portraits of the people and photos of these
cool.
products.
Very cool.
And it's just this incredibly beautiful
That's really cool.
book that I just kind of felt like I lucked into like as like a coffee table
Did you
style
find it
thing.
on eBay or
On
something?
eBay, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very unassuming. The descriptions say nothing. I was just like kind of, I also bought like The Art of Breguet by like George Daniels, which, I've managed to get a chapter down. That book is the size of a table. It is literally like 18 inches tall and whatever. And like, I don't even know how to read it. Like physically, it's like labor intensive to read. But that's like the technical one with very little in the way of like colorful pictures.
Yeah.
And this is pretty pictures.
Yeah.
If you like George
that,
Daniel and more condensed, the practical escapement is much thinner than that and a lot of illustrations in it. It's also very like tech dense, but also very interesting.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. All right. Any other recommendations we want to close out on? No, we get them through. I'll give one last shout out to a shop in St. Louis. A couple shops in St. Louis in the Webster neighborhood. Field Theory, a good friend of ours, Jeremy Kirkland. His brother works there. Really great gear shop. They carry Bertucci watches as well, and all kinds of other like gear, but also like kind of stylish gear, like really cool looking sunglasses. Sunglasses that have those like blockers on the side.
Those,
what those? I don't know if there's a name for those.
Yeah.
Or they're like this, but like if you're literally hiking up Mount Everest or something and you need to block out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what people use. I think they look pretty cool.
It's a cool look. Yeah. It's great.
I almost bought a pair, but like I don't know if I can pull those off. So I just bought a big pair of ridiculous sunglasses. And then across the street from that place is a shop called Civil Alchemy that you should definitely check out. All kinds of like cocktail wares and interesting bits and pieces. So that's my shout out. Let us know if you have any recommendations for us, things that we should try after, if you stuck around this long. Maybe you've got things that we can that you think we might like. We would love to hear them. And also, if you stuck around this long, you might like to watch us on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wornandwound.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Sure.
And
we'll put the link.
Yeah,
we'll put a link down there.
I do think that is accurate. We're good at this.
Yeah,
we're real good at this.
We're
We're professionals.
We're still earning their pros for our
Yeah.
watches, professional watches. So Yeah, if you want to see more of us on YouTube, well, you don't have to look at us, but you can hear us if you want. Yeah, hit subscribe. We're doing a lot more cool video content as of late. So if you like watches and like what we have to say, you might enjoy it. And find yourself some cool science channels while you're at it. The Big Think, Sean Carroll appears on there. He talks about physics. So that's another one you could maybe listen to and then fall asleep.
Show notes are just going to be all weird physicists talking about.
And of course, PBS's Space Time has a YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I
Fantastic.
That's a good one.
Go check that out if you haven't. That is our recommendations. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take care.